Welcome to the C Files, folks. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you feel like doing that. If you don't worry about it. All right. Well, I had to start over because somebody had a foul mouth on one of their videos. I'm tired of you guys using the F word all the time. You won't go on my video with that. There's my high horse. All right, now, another plane went down in Philadelphia. Another plane just crashed out of the sky and hit a neighborhood in Pennsylvania. Let me give you a full picture here. And that's what it looks like. Now, I can't play it with the audio because Knucklehead has a foul mouth. All right, here we go. That's what it looks like. Do I look like Kilroy? But apparently it was a small plane from what they're saying. I don't know. But what's with all these planes going down all of a sudden? Probably since one went down, there'll be other. Every time something goes down, it's going to be reported now. Let me see if I can find the other one.
Can I get? Yeah, just spin a long way, but spin a long way. All right, brother. All right. Just go on the other side of this table right here. Okay. I appreciate it.
That's what it looks like. Mass response.
A plane has crashed right off the boulevard at Cottman Avenue. It's on fire. It's not under control. It looks like a side street. All planes on fire. It looks like debris here. I'm in a debris field. They're roping off the parking lot. There is thick smoke and the smell of jet fuel. I'm working, I'm sorry, with Fox. I need to get I should have bought a jacket. Sorry, brother. I will.
So there you go. He's working with Fox.
There's a plane here.
So you saw, I'm not going too long on that. On the other plane crash, what happened? The one that, what was it, 67 people died when it went into the Potomac and the helicopter went in? How did that happen, folks? That was human error. You know, I don't fault Trump for being upset. He was. Did you see his the press conference he had on that? He was upset. He was angry. You could tell. He was not happy. And I think he knows something he's not telling us. Because he went after the DEI pretty hard. So what does he know? I don't think he's telling us everything that he was briefed on. I don't think he can. But, and what was, I know that the Black Hawk was on a military training mission. And what, I'm hearing this, and I don't know if it's true. Maybe you guys could blip-blop down in the comment section on this. Runway 33. Now, what from what is being put out on social media, that runway was not normally used. Runway 1 is what they're saying was used. And so when the air traffic controller put out what he put out, the helicopter would have naturally thought, well, they're over there, runway 1, not over here, runway 33. But wouldn't he be able to see the jet? I don't know. Pilots, tell me. Tell me how that goes. I don't know. If he had night vision goggles on, how does that work? Because I know they use that for ground surveillance. So, there's a lot of questions that are going to have to be answered. And now another plane has gone down. And people are questioning who was really on the plane, who was really on the helicopter. These are questions, and I'm sure a lot of speculations will come out on that. Interesting year, I'm telling you. We're starting 2025, and it's moving quick. Mass deportations are occurring. Over 1,000 people have been deported, I understand, by now. Almost 2 weeks into President Trump's presidency, his administration. So that's happening. And this is happening. And I want to come here and get this. Now, I need to get this view up so where I can read it, because this is very small, and this is amazing. I'm going to read this to you, and that's probably as big as I'm going to get it. Now, this was put out. There's terminations. Nick Sorter put this out on X. President Trump has officially fired the D.C. federal prosecutors who went after the J6ers. J6 political prisoners are finally getting some justice, he says. Is there any more here? Okay. Oh, that made it big. So here's the memo that was put out by the U.S. Department of Justice, Office of the Deputy Attorney General, January the 31st, 2025. Memorandum 4, Director, Executive Office for United States Attorneys, Deputy Director, Executive Office for United States Attorneys, Assistant Attorney General, Justice Management Division, Acting United States Attorney, United States Attorney's Office for the District of Columbia, from the Acting Deputy Attorney General. It's got his John Hancock and the date, his initials. You can see it here. This is what I'll be reading to you. Subject: termination. Now, folks, hang with me. Your eyes are gonna gloss over for just a moment, but when we get to the end of this, you're gonna snap right out of it. Watch. You are directed to take all steps necessary to effectuate the termination of the employees identified in Appendix A, effective immediately. It is my understanding, based on information provided by EOSUA and JMD, that these employees are still within the probationary period associated with their hiring processes, and that they were initially hired as term employees at the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of California. Try it again. Associated with their hiring processes, that they were initially hired as term employees at the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Columbia to support casework relating to events that occurred at or near the United States Capitol on January the 6th, 2021. In an executive order issued on January the 20th, 2025, President Trump appropriately characterized that work as having involved, quote, a grave national injustice that has been perpetuated upon the American people over the last 4 years, end quote. It is also my understanding, based on information provided by EOUSA and JMD, that after President Trump was elected to his second term in office, the Biden administration's Justice Department converted these employees to permanent status. The manner in which these conversions were executed resulted in the mass, purportedly permanent hiring of a group of AUSAs in the weeks leading up to President Trump's second inauguration, which has improperly hindered the ability of acting U.S. Attorney Martin to staff his office in furtherance of his obligation to faithfully implement the agenda that the American people elected President Trump to execute. No, these next two paragraphs, focus in. Watch. I will not tolerate subversive personnel actions. I'll read it again. I will not tolerate subversive personnel actions by the previous administration at any U.S. Attorney's office. I won't tolerate you bureaucrats digging yourself in and hindering our work and trying to do the opposite of what you're told to do because you have a political agenda. Back to the memo. Too much is at stake. In light of the foregoing, the appropriate course is to terminate these employees. Bye-bye. And to take all appropriate steps to ensure that resources allocated to their hiring and employment is available to Acting U.S. Attorney Martin for merit-based hiring. There's the merit-based hiring concept. DEI is gone. It's out. Now, listen to the final paragraph. Finally, the circumstances of the conversions are the subject of an ongoing inquiry at the Justice Department, including pursuant to President Trump's January 20th, 2025 executive order entitled, quote, ending the weaponization of the federal government, end quote. In other words, they're conducting an investigation into these guys and into the investigation into the J6. The investigators are being investigated. Please take all steps necessary to preserve all records. Oh, when you hear that, they're digging. Including documents, emails, text messages, and other electronic communications relating to the conversions and other personnel decisions regarding attorneys hired to support casework relating to events that occurred at or near the United States Capitol on January 6, 2021, and to destroy any of that material would be a crime. If you're still deceived by the propaganda put out by the mainstream media, propaganda put out on social media by those who like to put out propaganda, and the psychological warfare that's being enacted upon the American people by the globalist oligarch machine that has buried itself into the bureaucracy of Washington, D.C., and buried itself into the mainstream media networks through Operation Mockingbird. Keep an open mind because you're about to hear things that are going to shock you. They're going to expose the corruption. They're going to expose the briberies, the blackmails, the money laundering schemes, the political payoffs, like $50 million for condoms going to Gaza. That was a money laundering scheme and a political payoff. I guarantee you that money was not going to go to condoms for Gaza. Probably wasn't even going to go to Gaza. That was a payoff for somebody. That was dirty money buried into a bill, a big, thick bill. And they've been getting away with it for years and years and years. Guess what? Doge showed up and now all of a sudden they're getting caught. The days of burying your blackmail money and your money laundering and your political payoffs is over. The corruption coming out of Washington, D.C., the American people are onto it, and they're fed up with it. And not only that, but the sleeping giant has woke up. You know what happened the last time the sleeping giant woke up? World War II. And the retribution that we enacted upon the Imperial Japanese Navy after they bombed Pearl Harbor. What we didn't wake up to was the inside job out of DC. But this time we've woke up to the inside job out of DC, in DC, and the giant ain't happy. Matter of fact, he's pretty angry. Matter of fact, he's angry enough to start destroying things. The mistake that they made, folks, was that they upset the American people. That was their mistake. Panama's president says there will be no negotiation over the Panama Canal ownership. Quote, it's impossible. We'll see how long it will take to reverse that. Yeah, we'll see how long that lasts. A federal ban on handgun sales to adults under 21 violates the Constitution, court says. And this is out of Epoch Times. The appeals court ruling is held by one gun rights advocate who calls it a critical win against an immoral and unconstitutional law. So a federal appeals court ruled January 30th that a decades-old government prohibition of handgun sales by licensed firearm dealers to adults under 21 is unconstitutional in light of recent U.S. Supreme Court rulings that set a higher bar for restricting Second Amendment rights. The Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled that a law barring federally licensed firearms dealers from selling firearms to those adults violates the Second Amendment due to the law's incompatibility with the two Supreme Court rulings known as Bruin and Rahimi. In the Bruin decision, the Supreme Court held that a firearm regulation is unconstitutional unless the government can show that it is consistent with the nation's historical tradition, while the Rahimi ruling largely is Rahimi, if you want to look it up. That ruling largely reinforced and redefined the Bruin standard for weighing restrictions to the constitutional right to bear arms. So, citing the two decisions and their implications for gun owners, the Fifth Circuit reversed a district court's prior ruling that had upheld the ban and ordered the lower court to reverse its opinion consistent with the finding of unconstitutionality. The ban is unconstitutional in light of our nation's historic tradition of firearm regulation, the Fifth Circuit judges wrote in their ruling. We reverse the district court's judgment and remand for further proceedings consistent with this opinion. Key to the Fifth Circuit's analysis was considering if the text of the Second Amendment includes adults under 21 as among the people who have the right to bear arms. A further critical factor, in light of the Bruin decision, was whether there was historical tradition of restricting firearm sales to those individuals in a way similar to the contemporary ban. Join the military, and they'll put a rifle in your hand and teach you how to shoot it at 18 years old. 17 if your parents sign for you, and they'll send you off to war. The government's position was that the limited ban was not an infringement on Second Amendment rights and that the young adult age group was not among the people protected by those rights. I guess every soldier, Marine, sailor, airman, and space members of the Space Force, whatever the terminology is for their title, Any of them that are under the age of 21, you got to take those M4s away from them. We reject these points, the Fifth Circuit judges wrote. Oh, but give the M4s back. Noting that the government had provided scant evidence that the firearm rights of adults under 21 was similarly restricted during the founding era. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives, which was the defendant in the case, of course. Who would have figured? As it is the federal agency responsible for enforcing the challenge laws, did not respond to a request for comment. I don't think they would under the current administration. One of the plaintiffs in the case, the Firearms Policy Coalition, praised the decision. Today's ruling is yet another critical FPC win against an immoral and unconstitutional age-based gun ban. Like I say, if you go in the military, you can handle a weapon. You join the police department. Well, most police departments set the age at 21 before you can join them. So, FPC President Brandon Combs said in a statement, "We look forward to restoring the Second Amendment rights of all peaceable adults throughout the United States." The federal restriction on firearm sales to individuals under 21 was initially enacted by Congress in 1968 as part of the ominous Crime Control and Safe Streets Act. Didn't work. Did it work? Folks, did crime disappear after 1968? Oh, we restricted firearms. Crime should just completely disappear now. No, it didn't work because it's not based on reality. All right. I haven't talked about DeepSeek and OpenAI and all of that. I'm not an expert in that area. I don't know much about it. I'm a baby boomer. Put a computer in front of me and I'll stare at it and go, huh? They taught me how to use one in the police department late in my career. I was writing reports by hand when I went into the police department. And we had this stuff called whiteout when we made a mistake on the report. You old school cops, you know what I'm talking about. Sergeants used to take the report and do this and go, oh, there's a lot of whiteout on this report. Anyway, so I don't know I don't know OpenAI versus closed AI. You guys can figure that out, right? But there's a lot of noise over this. But what I know is we better stay ahead of the ball on AI, because if China develops their AI to a high level and we don't, that could be very bad for us. They could basically shut us down. There's a lot of things they could do to put us under their thumb at that point. So, Transportation Secretary Duffy acts to revoke emission rules. Oh, yeah, he did. He didn't. He did. The official is taking steps to end several policies within the Department of Transportation. Department of Transportation DOT Secretary Sean Duffy said on January 29th that his department is taking action to remove stringent fossil fuel emission standards instituted by the Biden administration. In December 2023, the DOT's Federal Highway Administration finalized a rule establishing a method to measure and report transportation-related greenhouse gas emissions. The rule required state-level agencies to establish targets for reducing carbon dioxide emissions from vehicles traveling on national highways. This is why there was the heavy push for electric that nobody wants. These emission targets were intended to become more stringent over time, and agencies were required to report on their progress in meeting them. The rule did not specify how low the targets should be, but allowed agencies the discretion to set goals appropriate for their communities. And those rules that Biden set nearly bankrupt. They nearly bankrupted a bunch of automotive manufacturers. I mean, it wasn't good. The rule was set up to confront the increasingly urgent climate crisis, the mythological climate situation. Don't want YouTube messing with me. According to the executive summary, and was expected to reduce greenhouse gases emissions by 50% to 52% below 2005 levels by 2030. Remember the 2030 agenda? I told you guys, go look it up and on the UN page. Read the books by Klaus Schwab. He'll tell you all about the 2030 agenda. This was part of a plan to reach net zero emissions by no later than 2050, according to a 2021 White House fact sheet. On January 29th, Duffy approved a proposal to rescind the rule. Elections have consequences, and sometimes they're good ones. Good consequences. The rescission reflects the administration's commitment to unleashing American energy and eliminating unlawful regulatory burdens, the DOT said in a January 29 statement. Duffy also issued a memorandum on January 28th related to fixing the CAFE program. The corporate average fuel economy, or CAFE, not the kind that you pick the food up and no. Standards of the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration regulate the distance vehicles are required to travel per gallon of fuel, and they were completely and utterly unrealistic. We don't have anti-gravity technology yet. In the memo, Duffy said, at least I don't think we do. This is some people, they might say, reverse engineering of area 5-1, Anyway. Okay. These fuel economy standards are set at such aggressive levels that automakers cannot, as a practical matter, satisfy the standards without rapidly shifting production away from internal combustion engines, or ICE engines, vehicles to alternate electric technologies, he stated. And I'm telling you right now, Stellantis is trying their hand at electric, and it is a total disaster. They can't get those cars on the road because they keep having issues and problems with them. Duffy said that artificially high fuel economy standards imposed considerably large cost, which rendered many new vehicle models unaffordable for the average American family and small business owner. I was picking up one of our Dodges at the Dodge dealer today. We have internal combustion engines in ours. Very powerful ones, and make noise and fun to drive. Anyway, there was one of the brand new electric chargers sitting there. I'd never seen one in person. Love the body style. The body style, when you see it in person, it looks really good. One little problem. There was one of those electric hoses plugged into it. It was an electric charger. Now, yeah, it'll put you in the back of the seat when it takes off, but how long will it last? And when will it start having problems? I mean, they're really trying to work out the kinks and the problems out of them, and they're having a hard time with it. But nobody wants them. And the guy who was servicing, well, one of the guys I was talking to in the service department, he wasn't servicing my car, but we were talking, and he said, yeah, this thing, $85,000. A stage 2 Super B electric charger, $85,000. How many of you folks have $85,000 just kind of laying around, search the drawers and maybe that bucket you buried in the backyard got $85,000 in it? You say, oh, I'll just do the payments. You want $2,000 a month payments, you go right ahead. Duffy directed the NHTSA to immediately begin reviewing and reconsidering all existing fuel economy standards applicable to model year 2022 and forward. He proposed rescinding or replacing any fuel economy standard to bring the CAFE program into compliance with the Trump administration's policies. Commenting on the let's try it again. Commenting on the memo, the Alliance of Automotive Innovation said it was reasonable for the new DOT leadership to review existing fuel economy standards. How much further you guys want me to go on this article? I think you get the gist of what's happening. They're rolling it back. Let me read this part because this looks interesting. As we've said, the existing CAFE rules are extremely challenging to achieve, even in the best of circumstances. They also expose automakers to billions of dollars of civil penalties, the association stated in a statement. On January 29, Duffy signed what the department described as the Woke Recession Memorandum. I love that title. It directs agency officials to identify and eliminate all Biden-era programs, policies, activities, rules, and orders that promote climate change activism, diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, or DEI initiatives, racial equity, gender identity policies, environmental justice, and other partisan objectives. And the people rejoiced. I won't read any more of this article. I think you get the idea. Things are going to get a little bit easier now for the automakers. The thing that made Dodge, because I have two Dodges and I have one Hyundai. The Hyundai has an internal combustion engine. The thing that made Dodge was the V8 Hemi. Everybody wanted that Hemi. And yeah, it terrorized the streets because people who have absolutely no self-control when they get a car like that acted out. I mean, the guy was telling me, the guy who was servicing my car told me, as we were picking up my wife's car and my Challenger's sitting in the lot because I drove her there. He told me, he says, yeah, people take our products and when they're pulling out of the dealership, they leave a patch of black mark down the street. It's just spinning those tires all the way down the street, and you can hear that engine roaring. That's why people buy those cars. I don't drive mine like that. I'm a responsible adult, but I love driving that vehicle. It sounds good. It feels good. It's just an awesome vehicle. I would not touch one of the electric ones. You could not give one of those cars to me. Well, maybe you could. I don't know. I don't know if I'd want it if you gave it to me, to be honest with you. It might cost me too much money to just, I don't know. You know, batteries go out. You got to catches fire and brings your house down. That's the thing that scares me. Anyway. I don't know if you could give one of those to me. Give me the good old-fashioned internal combustion engine. Remember, I'm a baby boomer. I like to hear my engine. So let me see. Let me take a look real quick at. Let me go home here. See if there's anything else. Here's people are starting to already get their theories going. Here's Mischief. He says the purge of corrupt FBI officials and agents has begun. Shouldn't they get the agents who became agitators? So this is a report. I'll go to the other thing I was thinking about in just a moment.
It can only be described as the start of a massive, much larger than expected purge at the FBI of FBI agents and officials. Many of them, in one way or another, touched the investigations into Donald Trump.
MSNBC, ladies and gentlemen. Woohoo! No, not really.
Sources telling NBC News this: the Office of Acting Deputy Attorney General Emil Bove asked the FBI for a list of Bureau employees involved in January 6 cases, sparking panic inside the Bureau.
Panic!
By people who fear retribution by the
panic! Retribution!
Trump administration amidst an ongoing purge of FBI leadership. Meanwhile, my colleague, NBC's Ken Delanian, reports that several top FBI executives were told to resign or be fired, and that the purge includes more than 20 heads of FBI field offices, including those in Miami and Washington, D.C.
I'm chuckling because that's not the first time I've heard that, folks. I was in law enforcement for 30 years, and I saw a number of times where people were given an option. You can resign, or we can fire you. You can resign and keep your pension, or we can fire you and lose it. All right, so yeah, it's begun. The sleeping giant woke up, and now the sleeping giant is starting to rampage and stomp around. All right. America is under attack, according to MJ Truth Ultra on X. He says planes do not just start falling out of the blue sky. Something is going on, and no one is telling us anything. So, look, this is how it happens, folks. This is how this gets started, okay? So, this is talking about the small plane that crashed that I was reporting on earlier. Oh, boy. I just saw this one. Mischief on X. Trump CBP making the border more secure than it's been since the first term. And okay, they were showing night gazelle from helicopters, and they were spotting people coming in and catching them. So that's what that was. And for those of you who need a, I don't know, maybe a pickup from all the downers. So, a little puppy there for all of the liberals that are just having such a tough day. I just thought I would help you out and cheer you up a little bit. All right, show you a puppy. Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, is facing, wait for it, recall. This week, California governor Gavin Newsom was formally served with a notice of intent to recall. Get out. It had far more than the legal required number of signatures. There are several legal steps required before recall petitions can be circulated. So that means, I'm not sure how they would go. It has to go into probably a special election to do that or something. I'm not sure what their process is. I don't remember. It's been a while since I've been in California. But there you go. The sleeping giant is not sleeping any longer, and he's stomping around, and he's mad, and he's swinging. And Gavin Newsom just happened to be, at the wrong place at the wrong time, and he caught one of those from the giant. And so are many other people. So that's what's happening, folks. I mean, it's going to be a fun 4 years to report on all this stuff because it's pretty interesting. And I try to report it from a biblical viewpoint. And I don't always mention the Bible, but the things that I'm giving you are biblically based in principle. And it is biblically correct to clean out corruption out of a government. bottom line, and that's really is all that's happening here, is things are being cleaned out. Costco workers are prepared to walk off job as contract deadline looms. So they're having a contract dispute. So if you go to Costco and there's nobody there to ring you up, you'll know why. White House official reports large number of federal employees taking buyout offer. Millions of federal workers received deferred resignation offers in a memorandum distributed on January 28th. Federal government employees are embracing resignation offers made by the Trump administration, a senior White House official said on January 31st. A large number of federal workers have accepted the buyout offer, Stephen Miller told reporters. And I think the point here that really underscore is that federal workers who are not happy in their jobs, who don't want to show up at work, actually go into the office, who do not want to be in the office, who are not passionate about what they're doing, are obviously not the kind of federal worker you want responsible for having enormous authority over the lives of the American people. So the new administration has prioritized cutting costs at the federal level, with the new Department of Government Efficiency to oversee such actions and finding the most suitable candidates for jobs throughout the bureaucracy. Lesson: if you're corrupt and you're the bad guy, whatever you do, don't wake up the sleeping giant. He will stomp on you. All right, we'll leave it at that, folks. There's so much more, but we're running out of time, and I got to get this loaded up. If events don't preclude it, I'll be back tomorrow. God bless. We'll see you next time on the C-Files.